president-elect is coming into office at a moment when there are upheavals in many parts of the world simultaneously. You have India, Pakistan, you have the jihadist movement. So he can't really say there is one problem that is the most important one. But he can give a new impetus to American foreign policy, partly because the reception of him is so extraordinary around the world. I think his task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity. It isn't just a crisis.
Are you confident about the people President-elect Obama has chosen to surround him? Because he does not have a great deal of experience.
No, he has appointed an extraordinarily able group of people in both the international and financial field.
Henry Kissinger. What a character that guy is. I mean, the guy looks like The Walking Dead, but somehow he's still alive. Somehow he's still ticking. Administration after administration, the Obama administration, even the Trump administration, he advised Trump at one point. Thought that was a little shady, but Henry Kissinger. The coronavirus pandemic will forever alter the world order. The world order. How long, how many people, how many sock puppets, spokespersons have used that same terminology? Yet when I make a video on my views of what the New World Order is, YouTube, as you might see it right now, puts a little tag on the bottom of the video. What is it? It's a context thing, right? Because they're so enamored with context, right? Because look at how much they keep the COVID in context right now. So this is a little fact checker that just automatically pops up. And just by having the New World Order, or even possibly the NWO in my titles, you know, gets this little fact checker, and it says, yeah, this is just a conspiracy theory. This article from the European Dialogue Expert Group, okay? It's pretty official to me, but big picture, professional, quality article, whatever. And there we are again. We're talking about a New World Order. So, in this article for the Wall Street Journal, which is a reputable source, I guess you could say, it's not just a conspiracy site, former Secretary of State and National Security Advisor argues that in the post-coronavirus world, states will have to restore people's faith in institutions. I wonder why that is. Because they're full of crap and they're losing all credibility as we speak. The U.S. will be obliged to create a global system to prevent epidemics. What does that include? Bill Gates vaccines, maybe? Track and trace? Yeah, all that. Pretty much like a Pandora's box of tricks right now, right? Because that's all in the name of COVID. Anything they can imagine at this point, like magician's hat, let's just pull it out, let's just keep pulling out what we can. It's just like, it's a lot like after 9/11. Only this time we're on a world scale. 9/11, just us attacked, right? And a couple other countries, you know, Britain had their equivalent of 9/11 with the buses being blown up, but which coincidentally weren't on camera again, because anytime there's a big event, for some reason the camera's shut down. You know, this is in England, where it's pretty much the most surveillance state of the earth, but the camera went down. So anyway, that was a whole different spiel. Yeah, they need to create a system to prevent epidemics. America has to do this, he says. Like, who is this guy? The U.S. will be obliged. Who Who's this guy telling the U.S. what we need to do? Reinvigorate the world economy and ensure the protection of the liberal world order. Liberal world order. What does that mean? We'll have to do a little check dictionary definition of what liberal is. Maybe kind of secret code words he's using here. So here's a guy barking orders on this article. Like, once again, some unelected king, right? This guy just issues demands, issues edicts, and we're all, yes, Mr. Kissinger. Whatever you say, Mr. Kissinger. You evil man. So, yeah. It's pure insanity. Okay. More good stuff. The surreal atmosphere of the COVID-19 pandemic calls to mind how I felt as a young man in the 84th Infantry Division during the Battle of the Bulge. Now, as in the late 1944, there is a sense of can't say that word. Imminent danger. How about a normal word? Aimed not only at any particular person, but striking randomly and with devastation. Yeah. Scary numbers, let me tell you. But there is an important difference between that faraway time and ours. And I'm assuming this is, the evil man himself speaking here. So what a treat we're given to read his own diabolical thought processes. Manipulative, cunning, evil, inspired thought processes. But there's an important difference in that faraway time and ours. American endurance that was fortified by an ultimate national purpose. Now in a divided country, efficient and foresighted government is necessary to overcome obstacles unprecedented in magnitude and global scale. Such a lie. It's such... Sustaining the public trust is crucial to social solidarity, to the retaliation of societies with each other, and to the international peace and stability. It's always about peace, right? They're so concerned about peace. All these warmongers like Kissinger loves peace. I mean, the guy is so peaceful. Just do a little quick search on this guy's track record. Don't know what I'm talking about. Nations cohere and flourish on the belief. Let me start again. Nations cohere and flourish on the belief that their institutions can foresee calamity. Like gods, right? Like those Mayan gods that could foretell solar events. So nations and institutions can foresee calamity, arrest its impact, and restore stability. I mean, never let a good crisis go to waste. It's basically newspeak for what he's actually saying. When the COVID-19 pandemic is over, many countries' institutions will be perceived as having failed. You don't say. How about lied? How about lied time and time again to perpetuate a complete myth? Whether this judgment is objectively fair is irrelevant, because the opinions of the masses are irrelevant. In somebody's mind like this, who thinks the way this man does. we are just cattle. Dumb, okay? Sheep with muzzles on our faces. The reality is, the world will never be the same after the coronavirus. Haven't you already got that impression? Like, haven't you been told that time and time again on the news? It's a new normal, guys. Just things are different now. You know what they also said? Post 9/11 world. Yeah. Same thing, right? To argue now about the past only makes it harder to do what has to be done. Creepy. What has to be done, Mr. Kissinger? Please, tell us. You evil, evil man. The coronavirus has struck with unprecedented scale and ferocity. Its spread is exponential. U.S. cases are doubling every 5th day. And when is this from? Every 5th day, doubling? Wow. That's a little overly dramatic. At this writing, there's no cure. Medical supplies are insufficient to cope with the widening waves of cases. Intensive care units are on the verge and beyond of being overwhelmed, even though every person I've talked to, maybe aside from New York, which was open genocide from what I'm concerned. Every person I've talked to, and I have close friends, I have friends on the West Coast, Oregon, some of the hot quote-unquote centers at one time. Everybody I've talked to said their hospitals, their acquaintances who are nurses, were never overwhelmed. Ever. The only thing that happened was they cut back on staff because nobody was going to the hospitals. So you cut back on staff and you get overwhelmed maybe a little. Not even really, but the logic is amazing with these people. And the ability to for the media to fact check and investigative journalism, yeah, it's dead. It doesn't exist anymore. So everything's collapsing, overwhelmed, testing is inadequate to the task of identifying the extent of infection. I mean, this guy's just an expert. I mean, it's like he's writing a horror novel at this point, and it just really draws you in, doesn't it? But it's all BS. It's all myth. Testing is inadequate to test and identify the extent of the infection, much less reversing its spread. A successful vaccine could be 12 to 18 months away. Oh no, what will we ever do, Mr. Kissinger? What will we ever do to stop the spread of humanity? Is basically what they're asking. What needs to be done, Mr. Kissinger, to quarantine, contain, and eventually inoculate us in your grand plan here? What does it take, Mr. Kissinger? Please tell us. The U.S. administration has done a solid job. Good job, guys, in avoiding immediate catastrophe. The ultimate test will be whether the virus's spread can be arrested and then reversed in a manner and at a scale that maintains public confidence in America's ability to govern themselves. Americans' ability to govern themselves. What does that mean to globalists to state it that way? we have to keep up the illusion that we're still self-governed? Is that what he's actually saying? And we're not. Because all these local quote-unquote officials who sit in offices of power, like the governors, health officials, whose orders are they following right now? It's mainly, from my research, it's the WHO, which is an arm or a branch of the UN. So they're following UN mandates right now. They're not following the US Constitution. Understand that. Are we being self-governed as a nation? Or are we being ruled over by openly anti-American, anti-nationalist, globalist agencies? So, according to Mr. Kissinger here, if you look at it that way, then they got to keep up this illusion that we're still able to govern ourselves. The crisis effort, he says, however vast and necessary, must not crowd out the urgent task of launching a parallel enterprise for the transition to a post-coronavirus order. I have no idea what that means. Moving on to the full article. If I can get internet. Stop the video for a second. Yep. Alright. Moving along on this captivating article. Leaders are dealing with the crisis on largely national basis, but the virus's society-dissolving effects do not recognize borders. Society-dissolving effects of the virus? Interesting. Is he talking about BLM rioting, burning down cities, anarchy in the streets, the war on law and order? Is that what he's talking about? And how does that relate to a virus again? Not sure. Well, the assault on human health will hopefully be... Alright. Try this again. For all the kids out there, this right here, that's a laptop. It's really heavy and clunky and it's made out of metal, but I'm not that old. And this one, the battery's about to die, so. Leaders are dealing with the crisis on a largely national basis, but the virus's society-dissolving effects do not recognize borders. While the assault on human health will hopefully be temporary, the political and economical upheaval it will unleash could last for generations. Generations. You guys ready? Kids? Ready for this new normal? Ready to live in this hell that they want to create for you? No country, not even the US, can, in a purely national effort, overcome the virus. Isn't that convenient? So it's got to be another national thing. International thing. It's got to be another global solution. Addressing the necessities of the moment must ultimately be coupled with a global, collaborative vision and program. If we cannot do both in tandem, we will face the worst of each. So, interesting. Drawing lessons from the development of the Marshall Plan and the Manhattan Project, of all things, the U.S. is obliged, he says this again, like he's giving orders, the U.S. is obliged to undertake a major effort in 3 domains. First, shore up global resilience to infectious disease. Triumphs of medical science like the polio vaccine and eradication of smallpox, they always use those too to justify vaccines. Buzzwords. Look for that mandatory vaccination. It's going to be great. You're going to let your kids be injected by people like this who see us as the virus and they're trying to cure the earth from us? Are you going to be injected by these people? Are you going to allow your children to be injected by these people? If we don't start standing now, we'll all be too weak to stand. After these soft kill technologies have had their effect. Anyway, smallpox, yada yada yada. Or the emerging technical marvel of the medical diagnostics through artificial intelligence, that's creepy, have lulled us all into dangerous complacency. This computer. We need to develop new technologies and technologies for infection control and commensurate vaccines across large populations. Ooh, that sounds wonderful. What are they going to do? Drop it in the air? Like chemtrails with vaccines? Is that how you're going to do it there, Mr. Evil man? Cities, states, and regions must consistently prepare to protect their people from pandemics through stockpiling, cooperative planning, and exploration of the frontiers of science. Yeah, that's Nazi death science that you're talking about? Second, strive to heal the wounds of the world economy. Unfortunate that they're destroying the economy right now. I mean, at least our economy, local economies, the international merchants, corporations of the earth aren't hurt. They'll come out on top, of course. The fascist corporations, the ones that embrace the New World Order. Global leaders have learned important lessons from 2008 financial crisis. This guy's just an expert on everything. That's what's really amazing. It's like, who needs like a Ben Bernanke, right? Fed chief. The current economic crisis is more complex. The contraction unleashed by the virus. No, it wasn't the virus, Mr. Kissinger. It was these UN mandates that local officials followed like idiots, clueless idiots, because they don't know anything about virology, so they're going to follow the experts, right? They're going to follow your handpicked globalist agenda, white coat priesthoods, right? Those are the ones who destroy the economy. Not an imaginary myth you want to call the COVID virus. Contraction unleashed by the virus, blah, blah, blah. This guy, okay, I'm already tired of reading this guy. Unlike anything ever known in history. And necessary public health measures such as social distancing, closing schools and businesses, are contributing to the economic pain. Oh, this guy has such a heart, you know? I mean, if you just look at him, he just looks like such a compassionate person. Programs should also seek to ameliorate the effects of impending chaos on the world's most vulnerable populations. Impending chaos. Think it's maybe planned, the impending chaos, like order ab chaos, order out of chaos. Destroy everything so you can restructure it the way you want. I mean, that's what Pope Benedict was calling for, after all. 2010, I think it was. A UN with teeth, with a new financial order, a new world body to control all the monies of the earth, with one religious head at the top. Who do you think that would be if you were the Pope? Anyway, this whole new world order, this whole push for globalism has so many tentacles in every aspect of society. Anybody that stands to gain, such as the internationalists, the globalists, the multinational corporations, which already amass fortunes from globalism. Of course they want more of it, right? Of course they want to be part of it. I'll just finish this up real quick. Third, safeguard the principles of the liberal world order. Let's see what I'm really fascinated to see how he describes his liberal new world order. The founding legend of modern government is a walled city protected by powerful rulers, sometimes despotic, other times benevolent. Anybody ever met a benevolent leader? Has anybody ever seen anybody like a politician with wings, like little halos over their head? Not sure what world this guy lives in, but according to his twisted view of the world, these must have been some really great leaders, wonderful people. They must have had, hundreds of thousands of death counts on there above their names, right? Yet always strong enough to protect the people from an external enemy. Enlightenment thinkers reframed this concept, arguing that the purpose of the legitimate state is to provide for the fundamental needs of the people: security, order, economic well-being, and justice. Individuals cannot secure these things on their own. I'm not sure if I buy his definition of government. Individuals can acquire those things on their own, but the government's there to protect individual rights. God-given, which is obviously missing from this piece. The pandemic has promoted an anachronism. I'm having a hard time reading this article. It's such a giant brain, this guy. Pandemic has prompted an anachronism. A revival of the walled city in an age of prosperity depends on global trade and movement of people. The world's democracies, which are, I guess, every government in the world right now is democracy, according to these people. Even though we're a republic, yeah, we're a constitutional republic. It protects the rights of individuals, the God-given rights of individuals. World's democracies need to defend and sustain their Enlightenment values. A global retreat from balancing power with legitimacy will cause the social contract to disintegrate both domestically and internationally. Yet this millennial issue of legitimacy and power cannot be settled simultaneously with the effort to overcome COVID-19 plague. The COVID-19 plague. It's a plague. It's a plague right now. It's like the bubonic plague, people. Wow. Those are big words. Those are frightening words. Restraint is necessary on all sides, in both domestic politics and international diplomacy. Priorities must be established. We went on from the Battle of the Bulge into the world of growing prosperity and enhanced human dignity. Like, this guy knows anything about human dignity. Gonna talk it too much. Now we live in epochal period. The historical challenge for leaders is to manage the crisis while building the future. Failure, this is the key point I want you to key in on right here. Failure for these leaders to abide by this psychopath who thinks he's God's rule book right here. Failure, he says, could set the world on fire. Fire. Mr. Kissinger served as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor in Nixon and Ford administrations. This guy's been around. I mean, he's just one of these little, like, disgusting swamp creatures that he just doesn't go away. He just won't stop breathing. So this is his recommendations. He kept saying oblige, though. So that sounds a little bit more like barking orders. To me, it does. He's basically saying, play ball, follow the rules of the New World Order, liberal New World Order, or they might set the world on fire. Interesting. And this was from April 3rd. Okay, so it's been a little while. I was wondering when he started talking about those numbers. So he put this out right. I mean, this man. When did the COVID virus start? It was in March, right? I mean, that's when it really started to kick off. When did COVID? Sorry, I can't see my. Oh, that's why. Got my shady glasses on. So, okay, January was the first laboratory confirmed case. January 20th. Reported to the CDC January 22nd, but the real pandemic didn't really hit from my feeble memory until like March. Let's see, the peak pandemic United States. Let's try that. COVID. And that might not even be a thing to say the peak, because they don't want to say that. They don't want to see that. They don't want to say that the pandemic is actually flatlined. So they might not even put out articles about when did the virus peak. Okay, April. So his timing was impeccable then. Peak in daily deaths due to COVID-19. And this was like one of those things I noticed just from looking at local COVID death counts here in my state. Unnatural, like I spent months and months trading cryptocurrency in my former life. And I studied and read and watched. That was the main thing. I'm a super visual learner. And I would just look at graphs, watch the patterns, watch the pumps and the dumps that would happen continually. But when you see like a really out of control, unnatural spike compares to the rest of the data, which is what we saw probably all over the US and in this state, it's pretty obvious because it goes from this tiny little curve to this giant spike to back down and then completely flatline for the last however many months now that we just continually get these updated mask mandates and other BS orders from the governor. Unnatural super spike though, and it must have been like during the same period when they were like, you know, this is the go time, this is the time to push it like never before, push all these BS legislations. And it was like, yeah, isn't that interesting? All at once, like all across the board. So April 14th was the peak, they say, of daily deaths. And the peak in hospital resource use was April 19th, whatever that means. And this is interesting. However, it is projected that the resource use will increase again in the fall and winter. That's right off the top of Google. That's a quote. Where are they getting that from? That literally pops up on the top of Google. Wow. Healthdata.org. This is where they get their information from. Wow. So they're already pre-scripting. They do that all the time. Pay attention. They will prescribe. They'll tell you in advance what they plan on implementing. So it's not such a surprise. You're expecting it, right? Psychologically, you've already committed. You're already like, okay, that's what it's going to be like. Okay, we're going to have more lockdowns this winter. Really? Is that going to not completely wreck the economy? We're just going to have more lockdowns? You can't do that without destroying the entire local economy. So yeah. So April 14th through 19th was the tippity top of the peak, according to their forged statistics. And Mr. Kissinger put this out April 3rd. Wow. So he's just like riding that wave. He's just like, yeah, we gotta capitalize on this moment. It's historic, right? This was back when it was a thing, and they're like trying to ram through as much as they can, right? Through the political systems all around the world. If you get online and you watch, like I did recently, I compiled a video on all the protests around the world, and some of what these people are saying. They all these local leaders in every country are implementing the same things. They're following the same marching orders. So the illusion of nations right now, self-governing nations, it's becoming more and more apparent, isn't it, that it's just an illusion. They're actually puppet states of this devouring beast of a new world order. I'm gonna call it. It's dark. I got work to do. But just some things to think about. Question everything. Don't take no for an answer. And start to stand up, because soon we won't have any strength with which to stand. We won't have any ground with which to stand on against this growing tyranny that we're all just dipping our little feet in right now, just to test the waters. And the more we allow, the darker and longer the winter will be all across this earth, as we're plunged into another technocratic dark ages. God bless.